You think the problem is motivation? You think the reason you can't focus, can't stay disciplined, can't finish things is because you're lazy, but that's not what's happening. Something else happened to your brain, and it happened slowly, not in one day, not in 1 week, over months, maybe years. Your brain got used to easy rewards, scrolling, videos, notifications, endless entertainment that requires nothing from you, no effort, no struggle, no patience. And the more your brain lives like this, the more it starts rejecting anything difficult. That's why starting work feels heavy now. That's why studying feels exhausting before you even begin. That's why even small tasks feel like pressure. Your brain isn't broken, it's trained. Modern life trained it to choose the easiest possible reward every time. And here's the dangerous part most people don't realize. The brain always adapts to what you repeat. If you repeat comfort, your tolerance for effort drops. If you repeat distraction, your focus collapses. If you repeat instant dopamine, patience disappears. And suddenly things that used to be normal start feeling difficult. Deep work feels painful. Reading feels slow. Learning feels frustrating. But scrolling for 2 hours? That feels easy. Not because you're weak, because your brain has been rewired, just not in the direction you want. Right now, most people are living inside the same loop. Wake up, check phone, small dopamine hit, open social media, another hit, watch something, another hit. Then when it's time to do something meaningful, the brain resists, hard, because meaningful progress does not give instant reward. It gives delayed reward. And the brain you have right now hates delayed reward. This is why so many people feel stuck in life. Not because they don't want to change, but because their brain has lost the ability to tolerate effort. And until that changes, nothing else changes. Your discipline won't last. Your plans won't work. Your goals will stay ideas, but the moment you understand how the brain actually adapts to effort, you realize something important. You can rewire it back. Here's something most people completely misunderstand about the brain. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It's designed to save energy. From a biological perspective, effort is expensive. Thinking deeply burns energy. Learning new skills burns energy. Pushing through difficulty burns energy. So the brain is always looking for the most efficient path. And modern technology accidentally created the most efficient reward system humans have ever experienced. You don't need to hunt. You don't need to build. You don't need to struggle to survive. You can sit still and receive stimulation all day. Endless content, endless novelty, endless small dopamine spikes. This changes something important inside your brain. Your baseline shifts. Normal life starts feeling slow. Work starts feeling boring. Progress starts feeling too long. Because your brain now compares everything to instant reward. And instant reward always wins that comparison. This is exactly why people say things like, "I just can't focus anymore." But the real translation is, my brain has adapted to fast stimulation. Focus isn't gone, it's just weaker. And anything that is weak can be trained again. But before that happens, there's a phase most people don't expect. It actually gets harder first. When you start removing easy dopamine, the brain reacts. You feel restless, you feel bored, you feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a problem. That discomfort is the brain recalibrating. Think about it like this. If someone spends months eating extremely sweet food, normal food starts tasting bland. But after a few weeks of eating normally again, taste resets. The brain works the same way with stimulation. Right now, most people are mentally overstimulated all the time, and overstimulation destroys motivation. Because motivation grows in environments where effort feels meaningful, not where rewards are constant and effortless. This is why some of the most productive people in the world structure their environment differently. Less noise, less constant input, more intentional effort. They don't rely on motivation. They train their brain to tolerate difficulty again. And once that happens, something interesting starts to return. Focus, but not the forced kind, the natural kind. The type of focus where you sit down to work and the brain stops fighting you every minute. That state doesn't appear randomly. It appears when the brain learns that effort is normal again. And this is the part most people skip. Rewiring the brain is not about one big change. It's about repeated exposure to effort, small, controlled, consistent effort. Because every time you do something difficult and finish it, the brain updates, and slowly the resistance starts getting weaker. Most people try to fix their focus the wrong way. They try to force discipline. They try to suddenly become productive. They decide, from tomorrow I'm changing everything. And that almost always fails. Not because they're weak, but because the brain doesn't change that fast. Rewiring attention and motivation is a gradual process, and it starts with something surprisingly simple: reducing the intensity of stimulation around you. Right now, most people are surrounded by triggers, phone notifications, short videos, messages, constant switching between apps. Every small interruption resets your brain. Focus never has time to build, because deep focus needs time to form, usually around 10 to 20 minutes. But most people interrupt themselves every 30 seconds. And over time, the brain learns something dangerous. Deep work rarely happens, so it stops trying. But the moment you remove some of those triggers, the system begins to recover, not instantly, but noticeably. Here is where high performers approach this differently. They don't rely on willpower. They change their environment. They make distraction harder and effort easier. For example, the phone is not on the desk. Notifications are turned off. Work sessions are defined. Instead of trying to focus for hours, they focus for a short block. 25 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. And during that block, there is only one rule: no switching. At first, the brain resists. You will feel the urge to check something, to open another tab, to grab the phone. That urge is the addiction pattern trying to activate. But if you don't act on it, something interesting happens. It fades. Most urges last less than 90 seconds. But people rarely wait long enough to see that. Instead, they respond instantly. And each time that happens, the habit loop strengthens. But if you interrupt the loop even a few times, the brain starts learning a new pattern. Effort to completion to real satisfaction. And this kind of satisfaction is different from dopamine spikes. It's slower, but stronger. This is the reward system that actually builds confidence. Because confidence is not built by consuming. It's built by finishing things. Finishing a task, finishing a project, finishing something difficult. And once the brain experiences that, again, motivation begins to return naturally. Not forced motivation, but momentum. And momentum is extremely powerful because small wins stack. One focused session becomes two. Two becomes a habit becomes your new baseline. And eventually something changes that most people don't expect. Distractions start feeling less interesting, not because you banned them, but because your brain remembers what real progress feels like. And progress is one of the most powerful motivators humans have. The problem is, most people never stay long enough in the difficult phase to reach it. They quit right when the brain is about to adapt. And that's why it feels like focus is impossible. But in reality, the system just needs retraining. The same way muscles need training after inactivity, your attention works the same way. And the good news is this: it comes back faster than people think, if you do the right things consistently. Here is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Easy dopamine doesn't just steal your focus, it slowly reshapes your life. Not dramatically, but quietly, day after day. Because every time you choose stimulation over effort, something small happens inside your brain. The brain updates its priorities. It begins to believe that comfort is the goal, not progress, not growth. Just feeling good right now. And at first that doesn't seem dangerous. Watching a few videos, scrolling for a while, checking notifications. Everyone does it, but the real problem is accumulation. Hours turn into days, days turn into months, months turn into years. And suddenly people look around and feel something strange, like time moved fast, like they were busy all the time. But somehow nothing really changed. This is one of the biggest traps of modern life. Constant activity without meaningful progress. Your brain feels stimulated, but your life stays in the same place. And this is exactly why many people feel frustrated without understanding why. They think the problem is motivation, or discipline, or luck. But often the real issue is hidden in daily habits that look harmless. Short dopamine loops replacing long-term effort. Your brain starts avoiding anything that requires patience. Reading becomes harder. Learning feels slower. Building something meaningful starts to feel overwhelming. So people delay. They say, "I'll start when I feel ready." But readiness rarely comes when your brain is trained for instant rewards. And here is the dangerous part. The longer this continues, the more normal it feels. Comfort becomes your identity. Distraction becomes routine. And effort starts to feel abnormal, almost uncomfortable. But if you look at people who are actually moving forward in life, you will notice something important. Their lives are not built around constant stimulation. They protect their attention, because attention is one of the most valuable resources a person has. It's more important than time, because time without focus produces nothing. But focus can multiply the value of time. This is why two people can have the same 24 hours and end up in completely different places years later. One spends most of their attention consuming, the other spends most of it creating, and over time that difference becomes massive. Careers are built this way, skills are built this way, confidence is built this way, and unfortunately, regret is built this way too. Many people only realize this years later, when they start feeling like they wasted potential, not because they were lazy, but because they were constantly distracted. And the truth is, modern platforms are designed exactly for that, to capture your attention, to keep you engaged, to keep you scrolling. But no one is going to protect your attention for you. That responsibility is yours. And the moment you understand this, something changes. You stop seeing distraction as harmless. You start seeing it as a trade. Your attention for temporary stimulation, or your attention for building the life you actually want. And once you see that clearly, it becomes much harder to ignore. Because deep down, most people already know they are capable of more, much more. The problem was never ability, it was the environment and the habits that environment created. But habits can change, and attention can be trained again. The question is whether you decide to take control or continue letting easy dopamine make the decisions for you. Most people think fixing their focus requires some complicated system, a perfect routine, a strict schedule, a complete digital detox. But the truth is simpler than that. Your brain doesn't change because of one big decision. It changes because of repeated signals. And right now, most people are sending their brain the same signal every day. Easy is better. Fast is better. Effort is optional. So the brain adapts to that. But if you want your focus back, you need to start sending a different message. And it begins with something small, not dramatic, not extreme, just different from what you usually do. For example, the moment when you feel the urge to grab your phone, normally you don't even notice it. Your hand just moves automatically, but this time you pause, just for a second. That small pause matters more than people think, because it breaks the automatic loop. It reminds your brain that you are still in control. And the more often you interrupt that loop, the weaker it becomes. Another important shift is reducing constant stimulation, not eliminating everything, but creating moments where your brain is not entertained. No scrolling, no videos, no background noise, just quiet. At first, this feels uncomfortable, almost boring, and that reaction is important because boredom is something modern life removed from us. But boredom used to be the space where thinking happened, where ideas formed, where motivation started. Right now, many people avoid boredom so much that their brain never gets that reset. So one of the most powerful things you can do is allow silence again. Even short moments, a walk without your phone, sitting without checking anything, working on something without switching tasks every few minutes. These small actions rebuild your attention span, and slowly your brain begins to change. You start noticing something surprising. Hard things don't feel as heavy anymore. Focus lasts longer. Distractions become easier to ignore. And most importantly, progress becomes visible. This is where momentum starts. Because progress creates motivation, not the other way around. And this is the mistake many people make. They wait to feel motivated before starting. But motivation is usually a result of action, not the cause. Once your brain experiences real progress again, something powerful happens. Dopamine starts working differently. Instead of rewarding constant stimulation, it begins rewarding effort and achievement. That's when work starts to feel satisfying again. Learning becomes interesting again, and your confidence begins to grow. Not fake confidence, real confidence, the kind that comes from seeing yourself follow through. And this is exactly what separates people who feel stuck from people who move forward. Not talent, not luck, not perfect discipline, just the ability to protect their attention. Because attention is the gateway to everything else. Skills, opportunities, growth. And the longer you allow easy dopamine to control it, the harder life becomes later. But the moment you take even a small part of that control back, the direction of your life begins to change. Slowly at first, then faster than you expect. And one day you realize something important. You don't need constant stimulation anymore, because building your life became more rewarding than escaping from it. And that's the moment where most people wish they started earlier. So if there is one idea worth remembering from this video, it's this. Your brain is not broken. It was just trained by the environment. And the same brain can be trained again, but only if you decide to stop feeding it easy dopamine all the time. Because the longer you wait, the more comfortable staying stuck becomes. And comfort, as you already know, is the quietest way to fall behind.